Buenas and half a day to our listeners on Guam and in the CNMI. It's now time for Total Health right here on Joy FM Radio, where your questions get answered by health professionals. If you have any health-related questions, we would love to hear from you. Call your questions and comments in at 472-1111 or text or WhatsApp 686-9999. If you're in the CNMI, please call 323-1113. Welcome everybody to Total Health.
Well, we are here again. It is Wednesday and it is time for Total Health. Well, today we have a guest, but I can't say it's a guest because he is one of the locals here. The other guests, I usually, introduce them, but Dr. Supit, it's so famous that I don't know what else I can add to his name. Welcome to our show, Dr. Supit. It is a privilege again to have you here, and thank you for being willing to share with us some of your, knowledge that you accumulated through the years.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Dr. Supit, it is exciting to have you here. And last time we talked about immunity, we talked about hypertension. You told us how medications are working, how they are not working at times. But today's topic is going to be a common topic. Almost everybody knows what diabetes is. And especially in Guam, it is not, a news if somebody gets diagnosed with diabetes. My patients say it runs in the family. It's quite common. So we're going to target the topic of diabetes, or how we like to say it, we need to diabetes it, diabetes it. We need to find a way how we can actually reverse it. And more research is coming on the topic that diabetes can be reversible. We're talking about type 2 diabetes, the one that we earn, that we earn with our lifestyle. We don't catch it like a flu. We just earn it based on the way we live, and we get it at some point. But the good news is, as we're getting that diabetes, because of maybe some choices we make, wrong choices, if we reverse those choices, maybe that's the secret of reversing it. Yes. All right. Dr. Supit, I am not going to even spend more time on talking about diabetes. Everybody knows what it is, but we would like to have some help how and what we can do in order to feel better, healthier, and not to have the consequences of diabetes. Of course, food matters. And I think we should start with food, because most of the questions that listeners are asking when it comes to diabetes is about food. And they say, we heard that we shouldn't eat carbs. Now they're telling us we shouldn't eat oils. But also research is showing we shouldn't eat too much animal protein. And patients are confused.
Yes.
There was a time we told them you have to eat only protein, stay away from oil, stay away from carbs. Nowadays we're singing a different song. No, actually you can have some carbohydrates as long as they come with fiber. So our patients are quite confused when it comes about diet and diabetes.
Yes. So Hafade Guam, we are excited that we can be on the air today to talk about this situation that we have. Quite a big situation in Guam. But I like to kind of share an encouragement where there are things that you can do I like to start with how you open up the door so that the sugar can come in. So if you can picture your body has almost 3 trillion cells, something like that. And all the cells have little doors. Yeah. So if your doors are open, when you eat sugar, like you eat ice cream or something sweet, the sugar goes into the blood. And then from the blood, it should go into your cells. Yeah. So if your cells are open, sometimes within just half an hour, all the sugar go into all your cells and everybody happy. Yeah. And then the sugar in the blood goes up and goes down. Sometimes within 2 hours, it should be already back down to like 190 or even 80.
Within 2 hours after meal.
Within 2 hours, if all the doors are open, yeah. So that's normal. 2 hours, it should be go up and down. Right. So tomorrow morning, the body knows how to kind of keep your sugar in the safe range around 80, between 70, 80, 90, something like that. Keep it steady like that. And in diabetes, there's a problem with sugar waiting in the blood. The problem is the 3 trillion cells, probably more than half, the door doesn't want to open. There's a problem with the door. Yeah. So when the door is closed, sugar waiting 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. Sometimes tomorrow morning, sugar from yesterday is still waiting.
Oh, wow.
And we call it diabetes. When tomorrow morning, sugar hit 126 or above, we call it diabetes. Yeah. And some people, their sugar is like 200, 300 the next day. This is before even eating. Yeah. So that's sugar from yesterday, still waiting for the door to open. Yeah. But the one blocking the door is not the sugar. So I see a lot of people. A lot of people say you go vegetarian, then it's going to help a lot of things. But even people that are vegetarian, if they're using certain oils, those particular oils might be the ones blocking the door. So we see a lot of times when we change what is blocking the door, there's many things, but I like to touch, if you can remember this big word called omega-6. Omega-6 is like an oil that is different from the cousin. The cousin is omega-3. You probably heard about fish oil. Now that's omega-3. Omega-3 is like the lubrication that makes the door swing open.
Oh.
Yeah. So when the door
That's a
swing
good
open,
way.
sugar come in. Yeah. So before, traditional diet was, the fish, the atulay, the tuna, the salmon. That's the local food. And then they eat coconut oil. And coconut oil and fish sort of kind of match each other. Coconut oil actually has omega-6, but it's the lowest of all the other oil. We're talking about like 1,800, something like that. Fish is about 1,500 omega-6 per 100 grams. So if you compare same volume, they're almost matching. So for hundreds and hundreds of years, people were eating fish, frying with coconut oil, and eating carbs, taro, lemai, dago, rice, and the sugar come in and go into the cell. And apparently, coconut oil does not block the door. So it does not build up here. So for hundreds of years, people were using coconut oil. And in fact, in the 1970s, people were using actually coconut oil, lard, and butter. And I look at the picture, 1970, a lot of us in Guam, in the States, look almost like Jackie Onassis. Slim. And I can even say I graduated high school in 1982. That shows me how old I am. But in the graduation picture, all of us are slim. 1982. But somewhere around 1985, Western oil came in, and Mazola oil came in, and Crisco oil came in, and vegetable oil and olive oil. And suddenly this concept of vegetable oil as healthy came on. Yeah. But today, fast forward several years back, I see a lot of people. First I changed the oil. I don't even ask what they like to eat, carbs or rice or things like that, right? Yeah.
That's your first strategy when a patient comes
I
to
like
you
to
with
know.
diabetes.
What's breakfast? Yeah. And I have a list that's very old. This is a list from the American Dietetics Association, 2006. It kind of puts this chart between two oils, omega-3 and omega-6. Remember, omega-3 is the good oil that open up the door. It's like good lubrication. And then it happens to be also the oil that fight the fire. So it's anti-inflammation. So inflammation is like when things in our body get hot, swollen, red, painful. We call it fire, inflammation. Yeah. So omega-3 is like calming down the fire. knocking out your, arthritis. And omega-6 is the opposite. Omega-6 is the one that turn on the fire, pro-inflammation. And it also happens to be the one that, it appears to be the one that kind of jam the door, kind of make the door stiff. Yeah. So it kind of is the opposite. You need a little bit of fire. In our body, you need inflammation. It's a process in our body that you need a little bit of fire to cook your food, to fight bacteria, to fight enemies. You need a little bit of fire. But the problem happens when the fire is too much. Instead of just cooking your meal, the fire is burning the whole house. Oh yeah. Then we got carpal tunnel and trigger finger and plantar fasciitis and vertigo. These are all forms of inflammation, where things get swollen up and the certain cells just get stuck. The fluid in that little organ in the ear turn around, and people feel like the world is spinning around. Then we give people anti-inflammation medication. Yeah, so to kind of calm down inflammation, and we give a certain medication that calms down the histamine, like antivert and meclizine and things like that. But the same thing is happening in diabetes, where these processes are kind of making your cells stiff. Apparently, I'm starting to believe sugar might not be the number one issue if we can open up the door. So I have a lot of patients. They just switch, for instance, from chicken to fish. They're not yet vegetarian, because a lot of people don't know how to become vegetarian. There's always benefits going to eating plant-based diet, high antioxidants. But I have a lot of people, they just move when eating a heavy dose of chicken and go to fish. Within 2 to 3 weeks, I see the difference. The sugar that's like in the 200s, 200 is very high, by the way, it start coming down to the 150 and then start coming down slowly within sometimes as early as 2-3 weeks. So something is happening in the doors in the cells. It start getting cleaned up. It takes about 2, 3, 4, or even up to 6 weeks to clean up the wrong oils. When you start bringing in the right oil, the wrong oil gets cleared up, and then the sugar starts finding its way faster
inside the cell.
Right.
That's fantastic. So we do have some good news, and so we actually can replace the bad oils with good oils.
Yeah.
We'll continue, Dr. Supit, right after the break.
Yes.
Call in with your health question too. On Guam, 671-472-1111, and the CNMI 670-323-1113. You can text, WhatsApp, and signal your question in 671-686-9999. We're streaming live on Facebook, so go ahead and leave your comments in the comment section below. We'll be right back.
In the team that is Joy FM, you are our most valuable player. Without your financial support, we'd strike out in the first inning. We'd be benched. We'd fumble. We'd never even make it out of the locker room, which is not a pleasant thought. Like a costumed mascot, we look to you to excite and energize our efforts, and you never fail to come through. And so we wave our banners for you, MVP. We wave them, hold them high, and give our humble thanks. We could use more like you.
Be an MVP with Joy FM.
Si Joe Ismaasi, and thanks for listening to Total Health on Joy FM. We want to hear from you. Call in with your health-related questions at 472-1111. In Guam or in the CNMI, the number to call is 323-1113. Text or WhatsApp us at 686-9999. And now, back to the show.
Welcome back to our Total Health radio show today. Our topic is about diabetes, but we will call it diabetes. because we have enough of the diabetes we have in Guam, and we would like people to live longer and healthier and have a better quality of life. We were talking about oils and how we can modify our diet in order to promote our health and not really block those doors before that are standing on our cells for the sugar to enter, because our cells need the energy which comes from the sugar and from the breakdown of the food that we are eating. But we have a question that is coming from a listener saying, what is the difference between complex and simple carbs? Well, we can touch base on that before we move again back to our section on the oils.
Yeah. So when you eat, for instance, potato is made of complex sugars. It's like starches. It's long chains of molecules, starches. And starches get broken down smaller, until you get the smallest 6 carbon molecule, which we call it glucose. That's simple. And then there's the 5 carbon, we call it fructose. And there's a group of 6 and 5, which the body can use. Yeah. So the body breaks it down. There's enzyme that breaks it down. And then you absorb it. And then you store it in the form of complex glycogen and things like that. When you need, you break it down again to become small. So the small sugars are very, very important because it's the number one fuel for your muscles, for your brain. You need sugar, number one. But in diabetes, the problem is too much sugar waiting in the blood cannot get in. The cells are hungry, but the door is closed. So I like to, of course, there's many things that block the door. So sometimes soda is another big story. Yeah, because soda is more acidic than vodka. So 7-Up is worse than Johnny Walker. So a lot of my patients get confused. But something make the door shock, and does not want to listen to insulin, and insulin cannot work. Sugar waiting outside, and sugar climb up. Anything above 100 to 125, we call it borderline. But when it hits 126, it's just an arbitrary number. We call it diabetes. Yeah, the risk just goes up. But the process of the door getting stiff, we call it insulin resistance, is already beginning somewhere in the 90s. So if your sugar moved from 80 to 90, it's like, oh, what's happening? Yeah. So we want to see if we can get your sugar go into the cells as fast as it can. So just to give you an idea, omega-3 is the good oil, and fish has about almost 1,000, each capsule of fish oil has almost like 700 or 1,000 milligram omega-3. In theory, you want to balance omega-3 and omega-6. At least 1-to-1 is ideal. Or it's acceptable to go omega-3 1 and omega-6 4. 1-to-4 is still acceptable. The problem with our current situation is we are talking omega-6 through the roof. Yeah. So for instance, omega-3 in the fish has more omega-3 than omega-6. So it really helps open up the door. Coconut oil happens to be omega-6, but it's the lowest omega-6 compared to all other oils. And it's got other oils in it that really helps your body, like MCT and other stuff. And apparently it does not build up. It does not stick here. Coconut oil get processed into the liver, get broken up into ketones. And ketones provide like an alternate fuel that goes through the back door and give you energy to the brain. So when people with Alzheimer's and people with mental problems have a problem with the door in the front closed, and it could be closed because of the wrong oils, the coconut oil helps. Yeah, some people really metabolize the coconut oil as an alternate fuel to feed the brain, and it goes straight. And people with Alzheimer's can regain their function sometimes within 2 to 3 weeks. It's amazing. Yeah. So, for instance, before people were subsisting on omega-3 predominantly from fish, but when the tuna become $11 and the chicken become $2, we went into the $2. But
or
the
the fruits and the vegetables are so expensive.
Yes,
and sometimes
yes,
they're, you can't find even them.
Right. So what happened is, and then we had this idea that white meat is better than red meat, right? But apparently this table shows the chicken per 100 gram, omega-6 the hard oil that block the door, chicken has almost 2,800 something, almost 3,000 omega-6. Beef, for the same 100 grams, the same has only 400. So you can imagine red meat 400, chicken is almost 3,000. So almost 6-7 times more blocking the door. So there's a tribe in Africa. It's called the Maasai people. 60% of them are saturated calorie from beef, and the beef in Africa probably might be different from beef in America. But there's a doctor that you can watch on internet. He is Dr. Chris A. Knobbe, Knobbe. He's an ophthalmologist, and he talks about this oil, and I learned from him. Yeah, and he shows how the people in Africa, the Maasai tribe, they don't have a problem much with diabetes and coronary artery disease in spite of eating saturated fat from the beef. So we got really confused about this term called saturated fat because over the last 20, 30 years, we've been hearing that saturated fat is the issue and coconut oil is saturated and lard is saturated and the new oils are unsaturated oils. But this new concept of omega-6, apparently Dr. Chris A. Knobbe brings up this new concept. And he says that this might be the key that is causing all the issues, especially, number one, he's an eye specialist, he says macular degeneration, omega-6 is probably the cause. And he shows the evidence. And he shows also diabetes, congestive heart failure, and a lot of the damage in the cells are replacement of the right oil by the wrong oil. And the cells become hard, sugar cannot come in, energy cannot come in, the heart cannot come in, then we talk about heart failure and so forth. So just to give you the numbers, chicken is 3,000 omega-6 and omega-3 is only probably 30. So compared to 3,030, omega-3 is so low. And then in 1980 some, the big thing about saturated oils. So the big campaign against saturated oil, and we got this new movement going to unsaturated oils. Unfortunately, unsaturated oils open up the door for all these new oils that came in. So here comes olive oil. Olive oil is omega-6, 7,990. So it's almost 8,000. So olive oil is it's more omega-6 than omega-3 than the chicken. So and then canola oil is in a lot of our salad dressing. Canola oil omega-6 is 20,000. Wow. It's got omega-3 in it, 9,000. So if you only look at the omega-3 in canola, 9,000 is a lot. But there are several different kinds of omega-3. Yeah. So there's the EPA, the DHA. It's not the EPA and DHA. That's the very powerful omega-3 that you find in fish oil and so forth. It's the other kind. So canola has 9,000 omega-3, but the omega-6 is 20,000. So you can see the ratio 20 to 9. Oh, that's a lot. And I learned about this oil when my own dad, he is a doctor, and he's a surgeon. But somewhere around mid-70s, 75, 78, he started forgetting my mom. Oh. My dad started forgetting my mom. Oh, wow. It's like, what is going on? I check vitamin B, homocysteine. He's in the red. We fixed that. And then I'm starting to realize the omega-6. And I discovered the peanut butter. He loves the peanut butter. And I look at the ingredients. A canola is inside. Oh boy, if I only knew about this thing 13 years ago, I would have a different situation with my my dad. Probably would still be here. But canola is 20,000 omega-6. Sesame oil is 41,000. And soybean oil is 51,000. And corn oil is 58,000. And sunflower oil is 65,000 omega-6. Omega-3, 0. So I have a very nice lady. She's about 60-some. She's vegan. She's trying to be healthy. But the blood pressure is 180 to 200. It's like, wow, what's happening? I review all the foods, everything healthy. Except, what's in the salad dressing? Oh, there's olive oil. So she took out the olive oil. And within 5 days, the blood pressure 180 to 200 dropped down to 140 without medication. So here comes another study.
She just stopped the oils,
She stopped olive oil,
olive oil.
and go back to using exclusively coconut oil.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing. I have hundreds and hundreds of patients. They change the oil, number one. I don't even talk about the sugar.
I don't think it's a problem for Guam to change it to coconut oil.
Yeah, right now the price.
The price.
Yeah. The price. So there's certain stores in Guam that sell the Baguio oil, the Baguio from Philippines. Some people cannot handle the smell of coconut oil, so they like the one without the smell.
Mm-hmm.
So Baguio oil or Minola is one of the brands that come from the Philippines. And I see many people, they use different brands. I just observe. And 3 months later, I don't even police what they do at home. I just address one or two things. I address the caffeine, the soda, and the oil. They say, now you can fry even the lumpia every day, and you still lose weight when you use coconut oil. It's amazing. Yeah. So every day I'm getting more and more surprised. So first of all, I'm not a researcher. I'm a clinician, and I'm a pragmatist. So if it works, I test it again and look. And if it doesn't work and there's no evidence to it, then I move forward and find something else. But if Dr. Chris Eknobi brings out all this research, and he very interestingly brings up this research on the effect of olive oil. So you probably heard about Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn.
Of course.
Yes, he is the former president of the Cleveland Clinic, #1 heart center in America and all this. But he is also a cardiothoracic surgeon that work with lifestyle, reversing diabetes and heart disease. It's amazing. And he mentioned about the oils. Yeah. And he shows how the arteries can clean up by addressing the oil. And he pulled a study actually by Dr. Vogel, a study from University of Maryland. And in that study, they did this special test where they put the blood pressure cuff on the arm, pump it up until no blood goes through. And then you look at the artery downstream, down here, on the ultrasound. The artery normally should relax and open in anticipation of more blood to come. But of course, you're blocking the blood stream up here, right? Apparently, there's certain chemicals that are being released, like nitric oxide, that makes the pipe relax, so the blood pressure can open and blood can go through. But certain aspects in the food stun the blood vessels. The inner lining of the blood vessels get stunned. So he did a research showing how when we eat American diet, there's something in the American diet that makes the blood vessels remain stiff 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours after eating the food. And then we'll find out about it.
Yes, we will.
We're going into our second break, so what you can do is we like to hear from you. Give us a call on Guam, 671-472-1111, in the CNMI 670-323-1113. You can text, WhatsApp, signal your question into 671-686-9999. We're streaming live on Facebook, so go ahead and leave your comment in the comment section below. You can listen live online, joyfmradio.net. We'll be right back.
Everybody wishes they had a money tree and a basket to catch the droppings. However, next time you find yourself wishing for a tree, remember to pray for wisdom. Proverbs says that wisdom is more profitable than silver and yields better returns than gold. The real tree is wisdom, and money is just one of its fruits. God loves to help you cultivate it. And as your wisdom tree blossoms, why not send us a few berries from Joy FM, family-friendly radio.
Welcome back. You're listening to Total Health on Joy FM. Call in with your health-related questions to 472-1111 in Guam. If you live in the CNMI, we want to hear from you too. Call 323-1113 or text or WhatsApp us at 686-9999. And now, here's more Total Health.
Dr. Supit, we're back with more information on diabetes, and I don't think we've ever talked about oils and how they affect our health. We usually target the carbohydrates. Well, so can you continue with this
Yes.
interesting experiment with Dr. Sustin?
Yeah, it's an important point. That's why I want to focus on the oil. Of course, there's many things that block the door, make the sugar wait outside, right? So a lot of people, they say, but sugar is sugar, right? If I eat sugar, it's gonna go up. Yes, it is. It is gonna go up. But there's good news. If we can clean up the doors, even if you eat the sugar, it's gonna come in. Yeah. So of course, if you're diabetic, you have to kind of be careful of your sugar. But I tell people, don't completely throw away the sugar because number one problem is the oil, probably. Yeah. So here comes Dr. Kenobi, and he shows this research by Dr. Vogel, Vogl, and it's called the brachial tourniquet test, brachial artery tourniquet test, the big artery on your arm. They put the blood pressure cuff and pump it up, and they see the artery downstream in an ultrasound. Normally, when you're normal, the artery downstream relax and open up. It's another name for it is it dilates. When you block the artery upstream, downstream it dilates because it's anticipating of more blood to come because certain chemicals get released like nitric oxide. But when you eat certain foods, the artery downstream does not want to open. It remains stiff. It fails to relax. They say there's a failure of compensatory vasodilatation. It just doesn't want to relax. So apparently there's a chemical called nitric oxide that is made by the cells inside your blood vessels. The innermost lining is called the endothelium. The nitric oxide is being released by the endothelium. But when there's certain products in the American diet, it stuns the endothelium. And the cells do not want to release nitric oxide, and the pipes remain stiff, sometimes 2-3 hours after eating. And they show how beef actually make the artery hamburgers. Hamburgers make the drop in the ability to open or relax, drop. But they show olive oil, the same thing. It's just as bad as the beef in this study. So very interesting. So the olive oil makes the artery fail to relax, so the artery remains stiff. And 2-3 hours later. And then it will recover after 4 or 5 hours, like that. But what's interesting, the second part of the study is, before the people eat, they give vitamin C 1,000 milligram and vitamin E 800 international units. And they saw how the effect of vitamin E and vitamin C, it mitigates the negative effect of hamburger and olive oil. So it actually protects the artery from the negative effect of eating olive oil and hamburger when you bring on the antioxidants. Apparently in nature, the unsaturated oils like olive oil, things like that, need the vitamin E and the vitamin C to protect the double bond, because coconut oil does not have, predominantly coconut oil is saturated. Saturated means the backbone is like straight. There's no double bond. So even if you leave the oil in the cabinet for 3 to 5 years, most of the time coconut oil does not become rancid. Yeah, because it's straight. The oxygen cannot oxidize. It's straight. But the unsaturated oils, oxygen can oxidize. That's why the olive oil, canola oil, and all these new oils, a lot of them are unsaturated oils, and they're subject to oxidation. So in nature, the oils are protected by vitamin E in the fat component and vitamin C in the water component. You need both these antioxidants in the water and the fat. So in nature, the oil is protected, but what happens when you extract the oil? Suddenly, you mess up the protection. So now you have to kind of stabilize the double bond, and some people, they have to throw in hydrogen to stabilize the fat. So we get hydrogenated oil. But it's going to be hard on our body. Yeah. So
it's
coconut oil
the
is very interesting
as well.
So that kind of make me think more about this controversy with saturated oil. it's getting a little bit more murky because it's not really the saturated oil that's the big problem. Now I'm starting to see the omega-6 is a bigger problem. So all these new oils that are coming, the unsaturated oil, is actually a big basket of omega-6, beginning from olive oil and going up to canola and sesame oil and corn oil. Boy, a lot of people, poor circulation, the arteries get stiff. It's something is making the endothelium of the cells become stiff, poor circulation. Yeah. But what's interesting is I have patients. They take out everything else. I have one gentleman, his blood sugar is 400. And he is so scared. And he's only 36-year-old. And he told me, Doc, please give me 10 days. 10 days? What are you going to do? Yeah, just 10 days. 10 days came back, and he brought his paper. His blood pressure dropped from 400 down to down, all the way to 130 within 10 days. Without medication.
Blood sugar, yes.
Yeah. I said, what did you do? And he said, Doc, rice and beans. Rice and beans? Yeah. 3 times a day. 3 times a day. Mexican beans, rice, mungo beans, kidney beans. Oh boy, rice and beans.
White rice?
He didn't specify. So apparently, brown rice, white rice, he just went rice and beans. And within 10 days, it's dramatic. I can show you the paper and his labs. And many patients. Apparently, sugar, the door opened up quite fast when you change the oil. Yeah. So the omega-6 oil is a big issue nowadays because I see a lot of people switch from the new oils, go back to coconut oil, and their weight start coming down. Their blood pressure start coming down. So I'm starting to see that the blood vessels, our blood vessels is almost like 2 miles long. Caffeine likes to squeeze the artery from outside. But the wrong oil make the pipe tight from the inside. So those two, I talk almost every day. That kind of makes almost 90% of my patients that I see every day. The wrong oil and the caffeine. So now I switch the coffee to the juice, and that people don't be afraid of the sugar, be afraid of the oil. Oh yeah. And then of course soda is very strong acid. So I tell people if you can switch to the juice or and then we watch your sugar. Of course, sugar is still sugar, right? So we have to be careful. But in the beginning, you have to be careful. But later on, you can have more, and the door is going to open up. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I believe our patients are really confused because we are confused among ourselves.
Yes.
One day we tell them olive oil is good for you. Next day we tell them olive oil is not good for you. One day we tell them rice is bad for you. Next day we say rice is good for you.
Yeah.
And somehow patients are in the middle and they say, I'm just going to do whatever I like. I mean, until science figure out what it is.
Yeah. And then there's a question, but what about the Mediterranean diet?
Right.
Which they focus on the olive oil, right?
Right. Like in Italy, that's the slimmest nation, and they consume olive oil predominantly.
So my take on that would be perhaps it might not be the olive oil. So some authorities also believe it might not be the olive oil. It's the fish oil that's opening up the door. Because people over there in Sicily and all that, they're consuming more omega-3 from the fish. Yeah. And not so much the olive oil. That's probably they are better off in spite of the olive oil because they're using the fish oil. So, for instance, there's data showing that the island of Crete, which is in Greece, these people are known to have cholesterol in excess of 200 to 300 for decades and decades, but not a single heart attack or stroke in spite of the high cholesterol. Perhaps it's the omega-3 that is protecting them. So today, the pockets of omega-3, today, Okinawa people. There's 600 people living in Okinawa that are still 100 years old, still...
The blue zone there.
Yeah, dancing, still boyfriend, girlfriend.
Enjoying life.
Probably it's the sushi and the sashimi and and omega-3. Now, if you're vegetarian, if you're worried about mercury and things like that, that's a valid concern.
Like a mercury toxicity
yeah, because
in
ocean
the
is
fish.
loaded with
Correct.
mercury. Yeah? But in my observation, I have yet to see somebody die from mercury. I can tell how many people die from diabetes, and you can create diabetes by just pouring a salad dressing every day for 3 weeks, and you can see the door is going to close. Yeah, so the oil might be a bigger issue than the poison in the ocean. That's not based on research. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, right. But
on
the other hand, Dr. Supit, I mean, people can get their omega-3 from the main source.
Yes,
you don't have to kill another animal to get the source that they have taken it, so you can benefit from that.
Right.
Omega-3 is extremely beneficial for our health, and
Yeah.
we can get it in in a healthier way.
Right. Well, transitioning to vegetarianism, most people already can see benefit just moving from omega-6 to omega-3. So when people move from chicken
Yes.
to fish, boy, it's amazing. I see. And then for vegetarian, it's gonna be if you choose mungo beans. Mungo beans is very rich in omega-3. Very interesting. In plants, you have to rotate your beans because lentils have more omega-6, whereas mungo has more omega-3. So you cannot just eat the same beans all the time. You have to kind of rotate. So in a plant-based diet, it's a rule that you have to rotate. So you get the benefit of all the beans. So it's like an orchestra. You cannot
Right.
just eat the same food every day and yeah.
But
so sometimes
there's
tofu.
so many nations that eat only lentils, and they're so healthy.
Right. So somehow the foods, like for instance, I have another story. I'm gonna tell you another story.
Yes, please do.
It's a little bit kind of diverting a little bit, but I'm just trying to bring up the concept that there's a difference between plant foods and animal-based foods, even if the components are the same. The components are the same, but the ratio are different. Yeah. Now, for instance, there's a sweet lady. She was 76-year-old. She used to be a principal of one of the big schools down south. She's been through our program, the New Start program. She knows about the food and things like that. And I have the permission to tell her story. And one day, son-in-law came from the States. And son-in-law is a very good cook. So chicken for lunch and chicken for supper, and very delicious. But since the son-in-law came, eating chicken lunch and chicken supper, the lady, 3 o'clock in the morning, staring at the ceiling, frustrated, cannot sleep. Already been to so many other doctors. Even went to the specialist. And all the blood tests is normal. And they told her, nothing wrong with you. It's just in your mind. She came to me and said, Doc, it's not in my mind, please. Okay, so I reviewed the food. Okay, and then we agreed.
You will tell us.
Yeah.
We're going to put in suspense here. Okay, we'll hear about that right after the break. We actually have more questions. Yes, that's great.
We are going into our last break. We got 20 more minutes into the show. Give us a call on Guam, 671-472-1111. In the CNMI, 670-323-1113. Text, WhatsApp, Signal, 671-686-9999. We're streaming live on Facebook. Go ahead and leave your comments in the comment section below. And you can listen live online, joyfmradio.net. We'll be right back.
Stories of evil.
The worst grade school shooting in U.S. history, at least 27 dead.
Stories of pain.
Gunmen stormed the cinema, opening fire.
We need rescue inside the auditorium, multiple victims.
Stories of hope.
We pulled together and found God in the middle of all that. We've been humbled, but God's with the humble. He's with the broken in heart.
Hope. Hebrews calls it the anchor of our soul. When our mind wants to drift to worst case, our soul can refer to the hope we have in God. No matter what the circumstances around us are like, the hope we find in God's Word assures us there are better days ahead.
Oh God, you have come through in the life of Moses. You can come through now. And I refuse to run or panic. I trust you, oh God.
Don't lose hope. Make that your story. Joy FM.
And we're back with more Total Health. Give us a call with your medical questions. Number to call in Guam is 472-1111. If you're in the CNMI, the number to call is 323-1113. Or you can text or WhatsApp us at 686-9999. Now back to the program.
We're back to our last session, and Dr. Supit was telling us a story. How does that story end?
Oh, yeah. But first, I want to clarify. I grew up vegetarian, and in the year 2000, I became vegan. Vegan is people that come from the planet Vegas. No, vegans are people just don't eat animal products. Yeah, but a lot of my patients are not vegetarian, are not vegans, and they already get better when we address the number one issue that I think is blocking the door.
Yeah, correct.
So even vegetarian people are going to get diabetes if they pour the wrong oil. So if you can figure out, again, you don't have to trust everything I say because I'm not the authority, but I just follow an observation by Dr. Chris Aiknobi and a lot of other doctors and the latest research. And what makes sense, apparently even if people are vegetarian, if they pour the salad dressing, those things are loaded with all this omega-6 oils. They're going to get diabetes, and they're going to get obesity and high blood pressure, even if vegetarian. Yeah. So a lot of people who are not vegetarian, they can also gain health if they can address the top, I call it top troublemakers. So I always talk about the caffeine and the soda and then the oil. Yeah. So now you can be liberal on coconut oil if you don't have allergy to coconut oil. Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. So that I just want to clarify that. So if you want to become vegetarian, I support you because I'm one. I'm a vegan, right? But if you cannot, and I know it's not easy in Guam. Yeah. So it's a bridge. So I would say focus on omega-3 and try to avoid the high omega-6. If you want the list, we can provide you the little list.
The list of foods.
So that's a new concept, and I don't want you to just take my word on it. You listen to other, but this is a new thinking. It might be the oil. It's not. So don't go low sugar diet,
carbohydrates,
and low carb diet, and keto diet, and things like that. No. Focus on omega-6 first. Then you can eat your carbs.
Like eliminate foods on omega-6.
Yeah, open up the door first.
Don't eat as many of them.
But even a little bit, sometimes it's troublemaker because it kind of stick for 3 to 6 weeks. So you go to the restaurant one time, then you get hit by omega-6 that sticks for 3 to 6 weeks. Oh, very difficult. So if you can cook at home, invite your girlfriends, eat you cook this, make a law. Okay, coconut oil is their law.
Yeah, but Harvard also came with a lot of studies against this, highly elevated opinion about coconut oil.
Again, it's a big hot topic.
It's a very hot topic.
But I'm a pragmatist, so I see what works.
Yes.
And I see it's more on the side of the coconut, the evidence. So in spite of, I know we have to respect our big institution like the American Heart Association and all these things, but I'm right now I'm tempered because I see evidence, and evidence shows on a daily basis, clinically. I see patients, we go back to their traditional diet, they go back to their Palawan diet, their Chukis diet, they're eating fish, and they're frying with coconut oil, and there's evidence. Many evidence shows how coconut oil is very protective.
But they cook in coconut milk.
Yes, very healthy.
Very healthy.
Very healthy.
Because many times, because of the coconut milk, people just eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, but they cook in coconut milk, and their cholesterol comes very high.
Cholesterol actually, no. The study shows actually the good cholesterol goes up and the bad one goes down. So the profile actually improves. So the studies that shows cholesterol go up is actually not the bad cholesterol. It's the good cholesterol, the HDL improve, and the LDL reduce. So it's actually a good profile that you want. And cholesterol, by the way, there's no cholesterol in plants. Cholesterol only comes from animals. So when you take out the animal products, your cholesterol can come out. Going back to the story, so we look at the food of the missus, and we took out the chicken. And then within 4 days, she came to the office and said, "Doc, last night I went to bed at 10. And I woke up at 5:30 this morning. Only one time to go to the bathroom." She slept after how many months? And then her palpitation, her heart rate going 100 start coming down. It's amazing. So apparently, there's a chemical in the brain that makes you happy. It's called serotonin. Yeah. And then there's a cousin called melatonin. It's in the brain. It helps you sleep, helps your memory, and repair your body 10 times more powerful than vitamin C. It's melatonin. They interconvert. But in order to make these two, you need this special amino acid that comes from your protein called tryptophan to make serotonin and then make melatonin. But the confusing thing is chicken and turkey has a lot of tryptophan, more than tofu and beans and bananas. But there's a problem. Between the blood and the brain, there's a barrier. And then there's a bridge. Chicken and turkey has a lot of tryptophan, but it also has a lot of competition that wants to get into the bridge. It's called LNAA, large neutral amino acid. So when you eat heavy dose of chicken and turkey, the tryptophan comes in, it wants to go to the bridge into the brain to make serotonin. But the competition is so much that the one that needs to get in cannot get in. It's being blocked off by the LNAA, large neutral amino acid. Whereas the tofu, the beans, and banana, tryptophan in only a little bit. But the competition is so much less. So it goes in. Within 1 hour, 2 hours, and 4 hours, the level of tryptophan goes up and up and up. The graph just like logarithmic going up. Whereas when people eat chicken and turkey, the graph is logarithmic down, down, down within 1 hour, 2 hours, and 4 hours. It's very interesting. The same food, you get tryptophan, you got LNAA on both sides, but the ratio is different. Yeah, and then on top of that, when you eat the tofu, banana, and the beans, and you top it off with carbs, your lemai, your dago, your rice, your titijas, whatever, the carb stimulates the release of insulin to take care of sugar. And the sugar gets shunts off into the cell. But the insulin also shunts away the competition, the LNAA. Take it out of the way and tryptophan goes in. So you can see the depression improve. The anxiety because serotonin, melatonin. So I have a lot of patients also. When we move away from chicken, go back to rice and beans, depression improve. Diabetes improve because the beans, it's loaded with all the minerals that you need for diabetes. Your selenium, your chromium, your magnesium, all these things is in the beans. Yeah. But a lot of people says, but what about my gout? Right? The uric acid. Apparently, when you get rid of the big players, the animal products, that's where the number one source of the uric acid coming from. The beans is probably down number 3 or further down.
Right.
Yeah. And then, if you drink the juice, man, the juice makes your body alkaline.
Oh, the juice from the beans when you boil them?
I mean juice, orange juice, mango juice, and all these things, right? So it makes your body alkaline in the inside. It's acidic outside, slightly acidic orange juice.
Yes.
But inside your body, it releases byproducts that makes your body actually alkaline. So it's an alkaline forming acid. Whereas cow's milk is the opposite. Cow's milk is alkaline outside. They're giving to calm down your sour stomach. But when it comes in, cow's milk releases products like sulfur that reacts with water, creates sulfuric acid. And sulfuric acid is the acid in the car battery. That's very acidic. Yeah, and acid pulls calcium off the bones. Because calcium is one of the biggest buffer to keep acid under control. So your bones actually get weak when you drink cow's milk. It's exactly the opposite of what they tell, right?
It is.
Yeah. So that's another big story, by the way.
Dr. Supit, we believe we have 2 more minutes. And what basically I'm getting from your talk is that we need to fight the inflammation in the body of our diabetic patients. The chicken has the most amount of arachidonic acid, which is a pro-inflammatory, and where the problem comes from. And on top of that, you talk about bacteria. That piece of chicken has more bacteria than a toilet seat.
Yes.
Which
that's
the
research,
body needs to really fight this inflammation, and then omega-3 omega-6 coming from oils.
And historically, you can see actually, before 1980, you can see our islands here were subsisting on mostly fish and coconut oil, and a lot of people climbing coconut tree. Now, sitting under the coconut tree.
I can't climb one.
So I think the traditional diet was better off than today.
I believe
since
that.
1980. So in general, the principles that I see is the Lord made the food in the garden is apparently one of the best solutions. If you can go vegetarian, power to you. If you can't, address the omega-6, go back to omega-3. Yeah. So, and then, even if you're vegetarian, try to go more whole foods, not pulling out the oil, because coconut oil apparently is special. It's so much different than the other oils. I don't know if God designed it that way, but it's saturated, and saturated is actually the one that makes it stable.
If there is coconut tree on the island, you can survive.
It's amazing. So in Guam, they eat
without
the inside.
even eating anything else.
The faha, the water, the mana, the meat, the everything in coconut. You make your eggplant with coconut milk and put it on the rice. Oh man, you lose weight. It's amazing. I get excited
so
over there.
actually we have quite good news
yes.
for our people. Going back to the Chamorro traditional diet, without introducing the animal food from the Spanish when they came, that would really be helpful,
I think
right?
That's there's wisdom in there. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Supit. I'm sure we learned a lot, and we maybe were challenged on a lot, because of the topic. But we'll continue next Wednesday, talking more about how we can stay healthy. Thank you, Dr. Supit.
Tune in next Wednesday for more Total Health at 5 o'clock.
Be sure to check with your doctors before making any sudden life changes discussed today. Total Health is brought to you in partnership with Guam Seventh-day Adventist